Hey there, friends. I thought it might be fun to put my face in this time because I'm wearing sunglasses, not so much out of choice, but out of necessity. The prescription isn't quite right, but my main glasses, the clear lens glasses, they snapped right around the nose, and I'm blogging about it and kind of making a big deal out of it. It's kind of a milestone. I don't think there's anything wrong with having these up close personal details like your own eyeglasses take the foreground in your own blogs and elsewhere because I am kind of a Bayesian. You heard in my last video, if you watched it, about belief systems and the study thereof. You might be aware of my cultigory theory video and attendant writings. It's like I like to subjectivize, and I say I'm a globalist, but then I have slogans like no global variables. Like I really do think that meaning comes from local context. And it's a mistake of a lot of big thinkers to think that they have discovered the true meaning of X because it has such a general globalized meaning in their own minds. It's like, well, you can do that though. I mean, go ahead and choose some words wisely from the dictionary and have them go global for you. But they stay global for you because others have other priors and they jiggle their words from their experience to get their matrix or LLM, you could call it. Yeah, I just watched Hinton's talk to the Royal Institute and his nod towards Wittgenstein and picking on Chomsky and stuff. So you'd think I'd have watched that way before now, given I include his picture in my graph theory, but no, it's not like that with graph theory. I'm still learning about everybody in there, including myself, but like Ada and her dad, and going back to like Sam Hill. It's not like I'm done with all these people because I've got them in some kind of graph. It's like I'll continue to feed energy to that graph and, develop it and maybe extend it a lot more. But I'm really trying to give an example. I'm talking about Graph Theory 2025, a certain video. Speaking of videos and the architecture I use, you might want to copy because it's been proved reliable so far. I think, people are always casting about for solutions. I don't see any drawbacks using Blogger so far, really. It's been good for years. I think it's kind of got a reputation as kind of musty, fuddy-duddy, kind of like old-fashioned, antiquated, kind of boomery. Like boomers use Blogger, right? And Facebook. And there's all these like PR campaigns to typify social media platforms based on what generation is using them currently most or something along those lines. But I think probably Blogger's here to stay. And then Flickr, the synergy I have going is that I upload my pictures to Flickr and sweep a bunch of them into various collections called albums. And then I can I can display an album in my Blogger blog really pretty easily. It's just like a cut and paste operation where you say, hey, take this album and turn it into some HTML that I can then cut and paste over into Blogger, which then reaches back and lets you even look through the slides in the context of the blog. You don't even have to go elsewhere. So that's kind of a knowledge engineering tip, something that's been working for me. If you're new to the game and you're looking for working architectures, there's any number. And to like promote my solution is not to say, oh, you've done it wrong if you don't do it this way. No. You'll have better ways to do it than I do, but if you want like get in on the ground floor with Blogger and Flickr, it's easy to do. I've had a good experience. So why am I really even making this video now that I've sort of off the cuffed it? Well, I wanted to get back to QuadCraft here a little bit. Now, obviously, I could in theory talk and use this controller and fly around all at the same time and chew gum. But what's really happening here is I'm laying down the audio track ahead of time. So what I'm showing is the current GUI of QuadCraft, a JavaScript in-browser application. You just pull up the HTML file in your local browser, locally from your own. You download it from GitHub, okay? So you get it local storage, and then you pull it up in your browser, assuming you trust it to run locally. And I say it's fine. All the source code's there. It's Apache 2. You can even modify it if you want, fork, continue on with another prong of this effort. But what do they call them in a fork? Tines, right? They're not called prongs of a fork. They're tines of a fork, but whatever. So you're welcome to mangle this some. It is in an early development stage. I would call this alpha. And there's a lot of diagnostics going on in the GUI that really have more to do with the developer process and maybe less to do with the eventual. This is kind of like a game skeleton, you could call it. It started out with no physics engine. A physics engine is kind of just being phased in at this point. There's talk of multiplayer and so on. The point here is to create a rich set of ideas, not necessarily fully implemented in every case. This is a finite effort so far, but to inspire others around some novel approaches, we think, to game development, featuring, for example, the CCP lattice, otherwise known as the IVM in my circles. There's subtle differences, there are nuances, but you can say IVM and a lot of people will understand what you mean at this point, actually. Isotropic vector matrix. To scaffolding, it's space filling, it has to do with sphere packing, rhombic dodecahedra fit in around every ball. And we have whole number volumes for the two kinds of voids you get with the IVM, the tet and the octahedron. The 4 eyes and the 6 eyes, or 8 eyes, we could call them. If you use the word eyes for face, there's anatomical substitutions you can make if you don't like the current jargon or whatever. Play around. Feel free, right? Evolve your own namespace. But the point is here that, we're able to interact with the CCP in a simple manner at this point, using the QWERTY keys, Q, W, E, R, T, Y. Those are on the US keyboard, standard ASCII, as we used to say. Unicode comes along. I'm sure there's, Cyrillic keys you might want to use instead if you have a different keyboard and so on. But the idea here is if I go Q, 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 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then back up in the same but opposite direction. In other words, along that same axis but reverse the direction. That key's under the Q, so A, back to the starting ball. But then I want to go opposite the Q direction equally as far as I went in the Q direction, so A again. And now I'm out on the spoke, 180 degrees from where I was. Let's go back to the center again, Q, 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 Q. So now I'm back at 0, 0, 0, 0. And that sounds wrong. Wait, don't you mean 0, 0, 0? Well, I mean both, because there's two coordinate systems involved here, and if you look at the GUI, you'll see cell Q here. And this is diagnostic. It could go away in other versions. It's like not everyone's caring about underlying coordinates that much. I've been pushing to add X, Y, Z, in fact, so that we can show both coordinate systems simultaneously, right? Because what's going on here is we're implementing the quadre coordinate system in tandem with the XYZ coordinate system. So then I try these other letters. I go www 6 times or 5 times, same number each time. Call that the frequency. So you go forward n times, say with the W key, then come back by that same amount with the S key, which is under the W, and then go forward again, or go backwards some more, I should say. So you go outwards, say 6 hops, come back to the beginning, 6 reverse hops. Now do 6 reverse hops, S, out to the opposite direction, and then back to W, back to the center, right? And then do that same keystroke sequence with E, D, R, F, T, G, Y, H. You're basically doing 12 spokes from a center outwards in what we could see as a cuboctahedron as the end of, what you get at the end of the day. These 12 spokes, they form 4 intersecting hexagons. There's a lot you could say, and if I were very dexterous, more than I actually am to this point, like I'm new to Xbox controllers. I only just got one, and it took me a while to even figure out that there's flippers, not just toggles. It's like joysticks. This guy is starting as a beginner. I'm like a white belt in this area. So me showing off this work is a little bit kind of like taking your least skilled test pilot and having him fly the plane, and we hope he doesn't crash, right? So I'm showing off what I can do in this particular sandbox, but there's a lot more that can be done, as alluded to by these code snippets that are runnable and other options down the side here. There's all kinds of stuff going on that I haven't gotten into. But I just wanted to showcase what we're up to, where we're at so far. You can read more about it all in a link in the description in case you're a game developer and you are into this kind of like explorational work. And, you can get the ideas, you can get the code. It's at what level do you want to engage? You can just care about synergetics. Like I come to this kind of from a didactic view. Like I picture myself, and have many times, given a certain slideshow called Quad Race, and I flip through these and I talk, and there's like an audience. Let's say it might be a virtual audience. I might be doing this on a YouTube or in front of a live audience. Either way, at the end there's a demo, and that's where I'd switch to QuadCraft. And if it's in multi-user mode, people in the audience could join me in this sort of turtle tank and swim around, maybe with their own way to leave contrails. This is kind of the direction we're headed. So at the demo time, we could have a multi-user experience, perhaps. That's an intriguing possibility. In any case, I'm coming at it from the slideshow first and then the demo, whereas really we're trying to propagate interest in this way of developing among gamers independently of your interest in the underlying math that much. Like, let's get you interested in the game possibilities first. The idea of games should be the draw, not the math in a pure form, which is what's the draw for me, you could say. So subcultures come at this from different angles, is what I'm saying. And you may have an angle even different from any of those that I've mentioned. Anyway, check it out if you're curious. Links in the description, and we'll talk again.